All right. Hey, I'm Al Hernandez. I'm 55 years old, and I've been attending church here at FBE for about 10, 12 years. Life before Christ. I was just a regular, ambitious 20-year-old looking to make as much money as I could. I had a really good work ethic. I was grateful for that. My family instilled that in me from a little bitty kid. Um, Found myself working in the restaurant industry and managing two four-star restaurants simultaneously. Thought that was going to be my career. I was hobnobbing with a lot of rich people. People had orchards, vineyards, jets, flying around coast to coast. And I thought I had the hookup. Then in the 80s, a recession hit, and the people I was working for went belly up. So, of course, I found myself unemployed. And not having a formal education, that made it really hard to find another job, especially when the country was in a crisis. So I found myself in a really bad spot. I had a kid, a wife, a really good work ethic, and nothing to do. I remember burning through our savings pretty quickly. And then reality really sunk in. I'm unemployed, and there's no money coming in, and there isn't anybody can help me. Wasn't really macho, but I've always felt that a man needs to take care of his family. So I felt a lot of pressure at that time. And I remember a Saturday afternoon, I was sitting on the floor in my living room. My family was out. I had all the bills laid out in front of me, and I just thought, there's no hope. You know, they're going to start picking up furniture, take my car back. What am I going to do? And I was so ashamed and helpless and broke. I said, there's no hope. I started boo-hooing and crying. I mean, snot flying, hyperventilating. One of those cries that you just can't stop. And I started crying out to God. And I said, all right, I'll give you a shot. If you exist, you got to prove yourself to me right now. And you pull me out of this, I'll serve you for the rest of my life. Scriptural, biblical, y'all agree with that? Doesn't matter. That's what happened. That's the way it went down. Instantly, it's just like turning off a faucet of water. My eyes were dry. I could breathe. There was a calm and a peace that came over me just like that. And I remembered that I had a Bible stored away somewhere that my grandma had given me when I was a little kid. And I said, I need to go find that. So I started digging around through boxes and things, and I finally found it. It was a red letter edition, King James Version Bible. And I opened it up and sat down in the middle of the mess there and all the bills, and I started reading James and the story of David. And I related to every part that I read. I didn't take care of my problems, but it put me in a really good spot spiritually. And I said, okay, what now? And almost like on cue, the phone rings, and the fellow that I used to work for that had gone bankrupt was calling me and asking me how I was doing. And of course, I'm doing fine. What can I do for you? And he says, well, I've stumbled onto this new adventure, and I think you'd be perfect for it. So if you don't have anything going on tomorrow, why don't you come over to my house at 8 and we'll talk about it. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Instantly, I was employed, back on the market, making money and working. But this time, I'm a born-again Christian. I've got a job. Miraculously, I'm working in Corpus Christi, Texas. Long story short, it was just one miracle after another. God just kept opening doors, one right after another, answering prayers, one right after another. My wife and I got together and we huddled up and started praying and really worshiping together, going to church on our own. Man, it was just a whole brand new life, brand new lifestyle. So grateful to be pulled out of that pit. Opportunity came to move down to the valley, and the rest is pretty much history. We're here. I now am the owner of the largest car wash supply company in the valley, all because of God. I've got absolutely no skills except to, eat, sleep, and eat and sleep. And so I'm very grateful that God has taken nobody like David, just out in the field minding his own business, and actually taken him up and not to sound goofy, but made me a king in my own little world. I rule over my little empire, and it's great. And it's not me, though. It's God. He's the one that directs my steps. He's the one that opens the doors. He's the one that closes them and orchestrates my whole life. I just can't see going back to just being Al. Not because of all the benefits, which are great, but why would you want to do that? Why would you want to suffer alone when you can have His love, His comfort, His guidance, His friendship? I don't get it. So here we are, 30-some years later, wrestled with God from time to time, and we've gone through some hard times, but He's been faithful. And I tell my small groups, I said, in the 30 years I've been a Christian, God has never failed me. Never. That's 100% never failed me. We go and do things sometimes way different than what I believe it should be, and it works out. I don't know how, but it always works out. He's faithful. Best friend, best God, best life. I'm blessed.